There are lots of people who don't even know that they have the ability to, get those rights restored. And some don't even require, a full blown out representation. It just requires that you reach out and set up a consultation.
So when someone gets put into the criminal justice system, they have some of their civil rights taken away. But can they be restored? Can they get them back? And how? Who do they turn to for help? We're going to answer those questions right now on this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest is Ohio attorney Michelle Martin, and I want to let you know right up front, if you want to ask Michelle questions about your situation, go to askthelawyer.com. Click the button up at the top that says Ask a Lawyer, and there's a very simple form right there to fill out, or you can call the phone number you'll see on the screen during our conversation. Michelle, it's always good to see you. Thank you for answering our questions today.
Thank you. Same with you, Rob. Thank you for having me here.
So let's just start with a little definition. What does civil rights restoration mean, especially as where the law is concerned?
Right, and that's a great question. I use it all the time and I expect people to just, understand what it means. But it really is the process of restoring voting or better yet civil rights to people with prior disqualifying events, such as a felony conviction or things like that.
And so what are, as you mentioned voting, what are some of the civil rights that can be taken away and that can be restored?
Right. So, right, you can lose the right to bear arms, your right to vote, right to hold office, right to serve on a jury. Those rights that we, of course, hold very near and dear to our hearts. Those rights can be lost through certain disqualifying events. And so, what I'm able to do, if someone has a barrier to exercising a right, I'm able to file an application in their county to see if we can get those rights restored.
Is this something you've had a lot of experience with in your practice?
I have. It's something I kind of fell into over 5, 6 years ago initially, and since then I found that my firm is one of the very few firms in Ohio, in Central Ohio especially, that handles civil rights restoration cases, and we've done so for many years. I've had a lot of success in the surrounding counties, and I have a 100% success rate in Franklin County. So.
Wow. In my very little experience, anytime you deal with the government, it's complicated. Is this a complicated process to get these rights restored?
So it can be. It can be tedious, Rob, and you just have to remain persistent. You have to remain diligent. You have to have someone who understands what is it that the court's looking for. What are the courts considering in your application? What type of evidence is going to be presented during a hearing? You have to have someone who's going to be patient with the process. This is not a fast-moving process. It's something where you're asking the court, in the judge's discretion to allow you to have your rights restored. So it is a very strategic process, and it can definitely be a little complicated if you want to be successful.
Not the kind of thing someone could handle on their own. They're not just going to be able to go online and fill out a form and be done.
Oh, I would not suggest that at all. This is somewhat different than a lot of people try to akin it to the expungement process because they do have some similarities. This, however, is a little more statutorily nuanced, if you will. And so it is just, it's a little, it's fun, but it's a little more difficult, and there's no straightforward application to it if you want to be successful.
You mentioned it's a slow process. I'm sure everyone is different, but how long does the whole thing usually take on average?
It depends on the court's docket. During 2020, I had some that took way longer than you normally
Sure.
expect. But honestly, with the dockets moving so slow now, I can expect some of the restoration applications to take upwards to a year to 18 months.
So, what are some of the requirements that have to be met in order to get civil rights restored?
So what I tell people first is you want to make sure all your fines are paid before you even come and see me. Make sure you paid all your fines and fees, that you don't have any outstanding obligations to parole or probation, all your punishment's been served, you don't have any outstanding warrants. Those are things you can really clear up on your own before you come and see me. But the main thing is making sure that your obligations are met. There's some statutory factors depending on the type of disqualifying event that you may have. And so there are some different, requirements that we may have to get into depending on what the disqualifier is. But for the most part, I'd say make sure you got your fines and fees and your obligations met before you come and even sit down.
And in your experience, Michelle, do you find that there are a lot of people that don't even realize this is an option? They don't even know they can get their civil rights restored?
Absolutely, Rob. You wouldn't believe the amount of folks that come into my office. They'll come in, we complete the application process, and we'll find out that their rights were automatically restored. It really was just a matter of going through the process and
Huh.
having someone knowledgeable look at your pre-existing, I'm sorry, your prior convictions, look at your current disposition, and tell you what the law says. So there are lots of people who don't even know that they have the ability to get those rights restored, and some don't even require a full blown out representation. It just requires that you reach out and set up a consultation.
Wow, that's such important work. Why is this important to you? Tell me why this is something you're passionate about.
Well, I mean, our civil and political rights are the class of rights that's protected by all. It's supposed to be protected for all individuals, right? So it encompasses our freedoms, deals and how we, of course, relate to government, social organizations, and as private individuals. So the ensuring that we have the entitlement to participate in like civil and political life in society and things like that, it gets rid of the discrimination, right? So I want everyone to be able to exercise their rights, so that therefore we don't have these uncomfortable conversations about discrimination. We all have a voice. We're all able to exercise. So as much as we can clear out a lot of the gunk that we're able to kind of find out, maybe we had some laws back in the day that maybe didn't really aren't applicable today, or don't really serve the people that we serve now. So I think this is important to get people back, on equal footing, and give everybody the right, or give everybody the opportunity to have these conversations and make everyone feel powerful, right?
Mm.
You give them their rights, and then you feel powerful.
I love that. And I don't know if people know this. Gunk is a word they teach you in law school, right? That's a Latin
Gunk
word.
is a word that they teach you in law school.
Michelle, fascinating conversation. I'm sure we could talk a lot more about it. Thank you so much for helping us out again today.
Anytime, Rob. Thank
And
you.
that's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Ohio attorney Michelle Martin. If you would like to talk to Michelle about your situation, you can go to askthelawyer.com, click the button up at the top of the page that says Ask a Lawyer, and there's a very simple form to fill out, or you could call the phone number you saw on the screen during our conversation. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal for Ask the Lawyers.